Hello, Budget Comics, back again with another budget haul. Been over a month, had trouble loading this one last week, so I'm reshooting it here. Hopefully it will take. We're going to start this off with Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, number 8. This is the first time the Falcon, Sam Wilson, wears the Captain America uniform. And this is followed up by number 9. It's a one-panel thing here in 8, so if you get a chance to get both, I would do so. Cool book, and the rumor is that Sam Wilson will be the next Captain America, so kind of a fun little get there. What we have now is Captain Atom, 42, and this is Death from Vertigo actually appears in this book, and it's kind of a neat book. It's not just a mere appearance or a cameo, but she actually plays a role in the story, and it talks basically about afterlife in the DC universe and who's what and everything like that. So if you're into just a fun read, as well as if you're a fan of Death or you think it might be a good investment, this is only $1 or so. But and the Captain America book was only $1 too. But it's just a cool book to have there. Next we have, and this is our story of 2 books today. This is Captain Britain and M13 number 1, as well as Excalibur 101. And this Excalibur 101 is the first appearance of MI13, and of course Captain Britain MI13, and MI13 is the first issue in the ongoing series, and this book is the Secret Invasion variant with the Skrull cover, and I believe that Skrull is supposed to have the Champion's power. I see Ghost Rider and Angel. That mace might represent Hercules. I'm not sure, but that'd be cool if that's what it's meant to be. Not really sure about that. But again, here Excalibur. First appearance of MI13. This was, if you follow this book, this was the old WHO organization, Weird Happenings organization that's been in the book for a while. But I've seen people posting about these UK characters and how Marvel might have plans for them, and they've been showing a lot of Excalibur books. And I think the premise is right. The issue is that Marvel Studios may not have the license for Excalibur characters because a lot of them are from the X books. And, of course, the X characters, as far as film rights go, is owned by Fox. But the MI13 characters are not in that. And if you've been following a little bit, the MI13 characters have shown up in... what was it? Revolutionary War or something like that. That is bringing back the Marvel UK characters, as well as I think they were in the Avengers, and they were in the new Marvel Encyclopedia. So I would keep an eye out for these books, not so much the Excalibur books. They're still cool. I love Excalibur. Don't get me wrong. But as far as investments go, I'd be careful. Here's find a fun, ironic book. It's also one of these books that, as a kid, I wanted these so badly, but they were so expensive and hard to find. This is Gen 13 number 1, one of, I think, 10 variants. And this is, of course, the Sandman Vertigo cover. What's ironic about this is this was put out by Image under Wildstorm Studios, Jim Lee Studios. Is that DC bought Wildstorm, and Gen 13 is a DC property now. So it's kind of ironic and funny, to say the least. Next we have kind of a creative spotlight, but just a fun book. This is a couple dollars. All these books have been a couple of dollars. This is Marvel Spider-Man Tangled Web. It says Severance Package on the cover, but this is part of the Tangled Web series where it's a lot of 1 or 2 issue Spider-Man stories by different creators, and this is by it's written by Greg Rucka. Risso did the art. I'm not too familiar with him. But this is when this came out, this was a big story because it won a bunch of it won like the Eisner Award for single issue, was touted by Wizard Magazine and Comics Buyer Guide. It's like $1.50, $2 online, and I didn't like it when it first came out. I don't know. I thought it was a little cliche, but then I read it again recently. And it's good. It's eerily good. It's basically the story of the guy in the middle there under the Kingpin is one of his head henchmen, and it's what happens when something goes wrong. Basically, Spider-Man only has, I think, is shown in 1 or 2 panels of this story, but it's basically Spider-Man foils this guy's big heist or something like that. That's what happens to a henchman of the Kingpin's when he fails. So, if you're into a good read, worth picking up. Next week, another Spider-Man Tangled Life. This is issue 14, and this is written by Brian Azzarello, 100 Bullets fame, and a guy named Scott Levy. If you're a wrestling fan, and this story has to do with Crusher Hogan, the guy that Peter Parker beat to win all that money and set up the whole responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. Basically, the whole death of Uncle Ben kind of starts with this wrestling match. But anyway, it goes into the backstory of how that even wrestling match came to be. And Scott Levy, if you're a wrestling fan, you know him by another name, and that's Raven, who's been in WCW, WWE, and Impact Wrestling. And he co-wrote this with Brian Azzarello, and it's a pretty good story. It's definitely not as good as Severance Package, but it's kind of just a fun thing that a wrestler wrote this. So, worth picking up. Fun little thing. X-Force number 8. This, to me, is the first appearance of the real Domino, as you see there. I know people say X-Force 11 is, but this is a flashback story. This is one of these crazy things. This is a flashback story about Cable's team, the six-pack here, which is featured on the cover, plus GW Bridge. This is a couple dollars. To me, even though it's copycat, New Mutants 98, because it's the first Deadpool and everything like that, that's the one you really want to get after, and I think will always hold value. But to me, if you want the real first Domino, it's this issue, because it's a flashback. It's not the copycat. Next, we have X-Men, Volume 1 of the X-Men series, number 41. And this is where the Age of Apocalypse starts. And for those of you who don't know the story, this is the end of Legion Quest, where Legion goes back in time to kill Magneto and ends up killing Professor X instead. And then it starts the whole Age of Apocalypse. So, cool book. Still a couple dollars. But if you're into that, worth picking up. Quasar number 6, and I can't believe there's been Quasar books in these videos. It's kind of funny. But this is kind of significant. If you could see in the lower right-hand corner, Venom appears in this. This is part of the X-Avengers storyline where everybody switches partners and beats each other up. And this is the first time Venom appears outside a Spider-Man book. And it's also the first time Venom's drawn by anyone other than Todd McFarlane. I want to say this is, under his first 10 appearances. This is after, I think, his second run in Amazing Spider-Man. What issues were 314? The late 3 teens. If you're a Venom fan, worth picking up. All right, next we have Incredible Hulk 415. This is, and I don't usually do this because I'm not that skilled, but I'm going to take this out and I'm going to try to show you something here. And this is a fun book because it's just got a neat panel in here. And let's see if I can do it here. If you see that pelt, this is the command center of a guy named Armageddon. This is his spaceship. And that little raccoon pelt with the gloves should look familiar to some people. And, originally, Marvel intended this to kind of be the unofficial death of Rocket Raccoon. Now, they've retconned this and said that this is not Rocket Raccoon, this is just another one of his species, but not all of them came with those kind of gloves. So it's an interesting book. It's not a lot of value or anything like that, but it's an interesting book in the fact that they had kind of written this huge character for them off. It'd be like in the early 80s if you saw like an adamantium skeleton hanging in like Dr. Doom's castle or something like that. It's just kind of neat that they had written him off and now he had become such a big thing. And I did have one other book to show you. And I've accidentally put this away. If I can find it. There it is. And you'll see around my office there for a minute. Alright, there it is. This is Rampaging Hulk #1. And this is the first appearance of Barit, who was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And she's not really a key player or anything. But she showed up in a run by Bill Mantlo, which also included Hulk 271, which of course was the first appearance of Rocket Racoon in comic books. So who knows if she might show up and there might be a tie to Hulk, a Hulk movie coming up. Don't know, but this is a couple dollars. This is the first appearance of Killer Shrike, who's like a C-level villain anyway. So if you're into it, worth picking up. Alright, that's all for now. Like if you like, don't if you don't.